Hey everyone, Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. We're a week away from the combine, and I'm going to give you my top 10 wide receivers getting ready for the big week in this draft class. Also, we'll talk about finding the right fits in this wide receiver class for what the Steelers need, and we'll give you our mock draft Monday winner this week, all here on today's episode. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. A reminder, the Locked On Steelers podcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is now the #1 sports podcasting network in the world. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. With FanDuel, use your profit boost on an NBA future bet, and you can get entered in for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Steelers fans, hope you had a good weekend, got some rest in. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so pardon me if I cough up some phlegm at some point. But, hey, it's that time of the year where that kind of stuff's going around. But I'm going to still be delivering my best here for y'all today, and I figured I would start diving into the work that I've been doing to get ready for the combine and for the draft as a whole. Now, as you guys know, I like to grind tape. I like to watch a whole bunch of stuff, put together my notes. And so what I'm going to do today is give you my top 10 wide receivers that I like in this draft class pre-NFL combine. Now, this is not going to be the long-standing thing. This is not going to be immovable. These are going to be the guys that just when I watch the tape, compared my notes, I said, okay, this is what I like this guy for. This is what I value this versus that. This is how I think this is going to play out. Okay, so we're going to give you that look here on the Locked On Steelers podcast just ahead of things. And I'll have more deeper breakdowns on all of this. I'll also have my top 100, I believe, either by the end of this week or the start of next week, ready for you to go on the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. But without further ado, let's get to these wide receivers right here. This segment, we're going to talk about the top 5 here. We'll get to the bottom half of the top 10 in the next segment. But I wanted to reveal these guys. Now, a lot of these names aren't going to be a surprise here, but I think there might be one here that some people might be a little shocked to see. But reading up from number 1 down to number 5, Ohio State's Carnell Tate. USC is at number 1. USC's Makai Lemon is at number 2. Arizona State's Jordan Tyson is at number 3. Washington's Denzel Boston is at number 4. And Chris Brazzell out of Tennessee is my number 5. Now, Chris Brazzell is the tricky one here because I think there's a consensus on who the top 4 are in this class when I compare my notes with what other people have put out there, when I look at other draft experts, because I do compare my work to check it, make sure, hey, did I miss this? Did I miss a game? Did I miss a note somewhere? And it seems like the consensus on the top 4 guys is pretty solid. Tate, Lemon, Tyson, Boston. Now, there's a mixing and matching of where those guys rank among that. Some people think Lemon's number 1. Some people think Tyson's number 1. Some people think Tate's number 1. Some people think Tyson's number 2, Lemon's number 2, or number 3, or number 4. Whatever it is, I think those 3 and then Denzel Boston consistently being at number 4 seems to be what I come across a lot. Now, as you guys know, if you've watched this show a lot, you've seen me talk a lot about Makai Lemon. I love Makai Lemon. I think he personally is the guy I would go for first. But when I looked at this and I thought about prototypes and building for what you want in the NFL, Makai Lemon's 5'11", really shifty route runner, has a lot of the traits that you want. He's a leader. If the Steelers get him, they're in a great place. But Carnell Tate, I think, possesses a lot of the prototypical wide receiver 1 traits. He's taller at 6'3". He goes up and gets the football. He has top end speed that just terrifies cornerbacks. A lot of the routes that I saw him win were either because he was just that much bigger and faster than guys, or they were respecting his top end speed so much that they ended up giving him an underneath route that was a little bit easier for him to set up. But in that also, he didn't run bad routes either, which is why I was like, okay, he's still a great route runner, but he has the extra juice and athleticism that gets him at number one because I think his potential's crazily up there. But Makai Lemon, I think, is the most consistent of this group. He can get open with his routes. He can win combat catches. He plays a lot bigger than he is. I think he'd be a great get here. I think that he's the most complete as far as skill set when it comes to these guys. The only thing that sets him back from Tate is that he's smaller. But make no mistake, Makai Lemon's a bad man. And make no mistake, Jordan Tyson is too. I haven't talked about him a lot on this show, I think because I've seen highlights, but I haven't had the chance to study him. And man, when I studied him, I was just truly impressive. His explosive burst, getting into and then through his routes when he kicks into his extra gear, he is dangerous and he is a major playmaker. I think he's not as polished as Makai Lemon, but I do think that he's a serious weapon. When I watch more and more of Jordan Tyson, I saw how he could be so dangerous at every level of the field. And that's what I really wanted to look for in this class was where are some of these guys dangerous? And for the Steelers specifically, it's finding the guy that gets open underneath and creates a lot after the catch. And that's a lot of what they do. And there's a lot of those guys in this class. But for the Steelers specifically, I think it's going to be very important to get a guy who gets open deep downfield and is dangerous with the ball in his hands. He's dangerous before the ball gets there. He's dangerous the ball after the ball gets there. And he's dangerous going up and getting the ball wherever it is. And that's why I prioritized it this way, because as we're going through this, Jordan Tyson, another one of those guys, Denzel Boston, not as polished as a route runner as the other guys and not as dangerous of a deep threat as Carnell Tate, but certainly very dangerous. Can win that back shoulder jump ball. Is a polished route runner. He's not a bad route runner at all. In fact, I'd say he's very proficient in that part of his game. Really like what he brings to the table. He's a guy that I think will be an answer for the Steelers if they were able to get him. I also think he could fall to them at 21. Maybe not, but I think the first three guys in this list, they're going to have to trade up for. Tate, Lemon, Tyson, I just don't see them falling to 21. Boston may also go before 21, but he's the first one I think that could really fall there. So again, that's where the four consensus guys are. But this last one is, I think, a bit of a wild card on my part, at least for now, and that might change when we get to the combine. But Chris Brazzell, excuse me, I keep doing that. Chris Brazzell out of Tennessee, when I looked at his playmaking ability, short and long, I was blown away. This guy gets behind defenses. This guy goes up and gets the football. He has solid routes. He's not a supremely polished route runner, but man, his route tree, it forces you to honor so many different things. When I look back at the year that he had this past year, I was blown away by some of the things he was able to do. He can win those combat catches. He can, create after the catch. He can find a way to make it tough on you. And he didn't have that many drops this year. It was a step down because the year before he had 6 drops, but in 2025, he had just 2. Truly grew up in Tennessee's offense, was a real weapon. And I think that's what the Steelers need is they need one of these types of guys on their roster. And there's a few guys after this. We'll get into the next of the bottom half of the top 10 here. There's a few guys here who I think that, but if they get any one of these 5 guys in this draft class, they're going to have what I think will be a playmaker wide receiver ready to go across from DK Metcalf. It just depends on what kind of guy you want. And again, Brazzell is a guy who is who can create before and after the catch. And that's where I think that you want. And there's still some guys like that. And those are the guys that are going to fill out the rest of the top 10 when we get back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. So stick with us because we got 5 more top receivers for me to cover. I'll explain their strengths. We'll also show you one of my exclusive interviews that I got with one of them at the Senior Bowl. That's all next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I remind you this show is brought to you by Zocdoc. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You want someone in-network, nearby, with availability, but you also want a doctor who really listens, makes you feel comfortable, explains things clearly, and helps you walk out feeling confident about your next step. Your diamond in the rough doctor exists, and finding them is easy with Zocdoc. Zocdoc is a free app and a website that helps you find and book quality in-network doctors so you can choose someone you truly connect with. I love that you can search for specialty or symptoms and quickly find the right fit. Being able to choose in-person or video visits makes scheduling way easier. Being able to choose that, plus checking the verified patient reviews to get a real sense of the doctor's vibe and communication style all play a big part of what makes ZocDoc special. So stop putting off your doctor appointments and get the care you need by going to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. We're also today brought to you by FanDuel. If you've ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds the extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can you pick your cash, but it can also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future bet and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue our episode here going over my top 10 wide receivers in this NFL draft class before the NFL scouting combine. Now, as I said before, the big thing that I'm looking for is we're looking for being guys that are going to be able to get open downfield, because that to me is the big thing here. Is you want guys that can get open, make big catches, and also make big plays after that. So I'm not just looking for guys that can go up and win the combat catches. I'm not just looking for guys that are fast. I want guys that are great route runners as well. And if they're not great, at least be proficient, good, very good. And I think that's where you could find the Steelers looking for guys this year, especially in the upper part of this draft, because there are plenty of guys to get to that can win with separation and then also do the other dangerous parts of this game. But oftentimes you'll get, when you wait too far, then you're locked into guys that maybe this guy's more about speed, maybe this guy's more just has route running. He's not consistent with his hands, and we start to see a bit of that in the back end of the top 10 here. But let's get into the rest of it. I'm going to reveal the rest of my top 10 here. Starting at number 6, I got Malachi Fields, the receiver from Notre Dame, who I talked a lot about from what I saw at the Senior Bowl. I'm going to play a clip from him at the Senior Bowl when I got a one-on-one with him there in a bit here. We got Omar Cooper Jr., Indiana's top wide receiver for the national champion Hoosiers, Fernando Mendoza's top target. We'll get into him in a bit. Casey Concepcion, another really good route runner. At number 8, he comes in out of Texas A&M. And then Elijah Surratt, another receiver out of Indiana. He made my number 9, and he's a guy that moved up particularly because of what I really liked, what I saw him with his ability to get open and what he did after the catch as well. And then you have Zachariah Branch out of Georgia. He makes my number 10 on this list. Now, there's different things to like about different guys. If you follow and you probably look at different boards, Malachi Fields isn't a guy that's been, I think, 6th or considered, a potential first round, early second round pick. I think consensus, a lot of people say at best he's late second round, early to mid third round. Some even have him going late third round, even fourth round. I don't think he's going to be there when people see this man at the combine. I think he's going to be too fast, too big. He's going to impress people with the way he carries himself, and he's going to wow people way too much. And I want you to check out the one-on-one I got with him here back at the Senior Bowl, because not only is he a playmaking just monster, this guy's a former quarterback. He came into college football, with that kind of experience, seeing the game that way. He adapted his game at Virginia, and then when he transferred to Notre Dame for his last 2 years, man, he really took some steps forward, grew his game, makes one-handed catches, bending the other direction, tracks the deep ball, gets open, knows how to get set up different routes. I've been very impressed by him, and I was impressed by him in this interview because he conducts himself, I think, very well. Keeps his head on straight. Here's my interview of Malachi Fields back during the Senior Bowl when I talked to him in Mobile, Alabama.
Malachi, you're a bigger body wide receiver, but I noticed you're good in your routes. You're good in you're solid in your footwork. What kind of work have you put in to make sure that's something that's a part of your game with your size?
Yeah, just ever since I got to college, making that transition from quarterback to receiver, I've been working with the guys in the room and my coaches, just the technique of route running and getting in and out of breaks, like whether it's box drill, big bag drills, just trying to focus on getting out in 3 steps and working back to the quarterback so that I'm able to create that separation.
What part of your college career, did you feel like you took the biggest step in that, where you said it's clicking? I can do this. I can do this the way I want to.
I would definitely say from my sophomore to my junior year, I felt a lot more comfortable actually route running, getting the footwork down, and after that, I think it just continued to excel and to this point now.
You've also shown the ability to make incredible combat catches. You brought up that one-hander against Pitt. What helped you? What kind of work do you put in to have consistent hands as you do?
Just always getting catches, whether it's in practice or after practice. Just trying to be around the ball, and it's also a mentality I kind of developed. When the ball's in the air, it's mine. Just having that confidence about me when the ball's in the air and just going to make the play.
I noticed, yesterday in the first practice, underneath routes, you were really attentive in your blocking assignments and getting your shoulder in the right gaps. What did you like, and what did you want to improve upon about your first day at Senior Bowl practice?
Yeah, definitely the blocking thing is something I take pride in, especially when I come from a program with 2 great running backs in the backfield, so picking up a key block and springing for a touchdown, I just take pride in that. But one thing I want to clean up is definitely the splits. The splits are a little bit different than we had in college, and the hashes and the numbers are a bit different. So just cleaning up, lining up, and the efficiency in that.
What's the biggest feedback you got from coaches from your day yesterday?
I think that was the biggest thing as well, just where to line up, knowing where to line up, getting the call in the huddle fast, because it comes from signals to huddling every play, so just a bit of a shift, but that's something I'm working to.
There's a lot of really talented receivers in this class. You're one of them. Where do you see yourself amongst your contenders here?
I see myself right in the mix with everybody, and we're all coming in competing, but we're trying to help each other elevate in the process. So we're all in there competing, but talking to each other how we can help each other get better. So it's just been awesome.
One reason I have Malachi Fields higher than most, I think one is I got to see him up close at the Senior Bowl, and I was just wowed by him on and off the field. But also, when I took into account like the adjustments he's had to make throughout his career and how he's had to learn, he's been like learning at a much earlier stage of a learning process of the wide receiver position than I think most of his competition. Like, he's just putting together some things, and he's still this dangerous. And I think that's something that's going to really work from, like, he's talking about, like, hey, he had to transition from this to that, in his freshman year, then his sophomore year, then his sophomore to junior, he made a big leap in his route running. And now he's learning about, the different hash sizes and where he can line up in the NFL. And man, I think the way that for all the learning that he did in college, he really took that progress head on. And I really liked what I saw there. So Malachi Fields, my number 6 guy in this draft class right now. We'll see if that changes as we get throughout that. But let's go back through the rest of this top 10. Omar Cooper Jr. Now, he's another guy who some people have lower, maybe even like this in the second round. And maybe that's still where he ends up. This is just my top 10 list, but I really like Omar, man. When I watch this dude play, the different things he's able to do. Now, if you're a highlight watcher, especially if you're a Pittsburgh person, you probably saw his game-winning touchdown catch for Indiana over Penn State, which was just spectacular back of the end zone. Go back and watch that play if you haven't. It was spectacular. Just as spectacular as Malachi Fields' one-hander that he pulled against Pitt, but just also for the clutchness of the play. But so many times, Omar Cooper Jr. just came through in the clutch for Indiana, and was dangerous. And it wasn't the only time that he made crazy catches. He made several crazy one-handed catches throughout the year, contested catches. He got open. He made guys miss after the catch. I just think he is a much more complete receiver than some of the guys that start to come after this list. And that's why I put him as my number 7 guy. He should get there. If he was taller, he'd be ahead of Malachi Fields. But I really think he has that to his advantage. Now, number 8 is Casey Concepcion. Now, Casey Concepcion was a guy that I was hoping to see at the Senior Bowl. He pulled out the day before, so we didn't get to talk to him. But I do think he's shifty and dangerous as a route runner. I just don't think he's as polished as some of these other guys ahead of him. I don't have him as a better route runner than Makai Lemon, than Jordan Tyson. And honestly, he might be Omar Cooper might be better than him in that as well. Casey Concepcion can get some separation late in his routes, and that's something that I noticed when I went through several of his games, was that some of the separation that he got was sort of because like he ran far enough in his route, and then like he threw a shake at the last second and broke there. And sometimes that's part of the design, but sometimes I felt like it was too often. It wasn't like he did it within the structure of a route to get open within 2 to 3 seconds, so the quarterback doesn't have to wait too long. And to me, that just sort of shied it back. And then I also looked at, he had 7 drops on the year. I just thought that's a tough spot to be there if you're gonna make the mistakes like that. You're not, he is one of the better route runners of this draft class, but he's not as polished as some of the guys that are in that top 5, which is why he isn't in that top 5. Now, some people have him in the top 5. Some people think that he is that dangerous and that he's that kind of a playmaker. I think he can be that dangerous. I just think that right now, if I'm comparing all the skill sets, he falls behind the other guys for that respect. But right after him is another Indiana wide receiver, Elijah Surratt. Now, Elijah Surratt is a guy who brings a lot to the table. He's another really good route runner, similar to Omar Cooper in a lot of respect. I think that Elijah Surratt is, dangerous. And sometimes, when Omar Cooper was out, Elijah Surratt would step up and be Indiana's top wide receiver, but a big time playmaker, can make plays after the catch. But he also gets open pretty well. And he's a thicker, stronger wide receiver. He can stiff arm guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, his thumbnail in this image that I'm using is a kind of a stiff arm that he gave in the national championship game. But I think that Elijah Surratt would be a very dangerous wide receiver if put in the right offense right away in the NFL. And then we get to number 10, Zachariah Branch. Now, Zachariah Branch, to me, out of Georgia, he's a speed demon. I am very eager to see what Branch runs in the 40-yard dash because he looks fast. He looks explosive. He looks dangerous at all times when the ball is in his hands. The way that he can make guys miss are so unique, and I think that's going to be really special. But this is where I think that this is where you start to get to the yak monsters of this class. And make no mistake, a lot of these guys can do yak. Chris Brazzell does yak. Tyson does yak. Lemon did. These guys, a lot of these guys can get the yak. But this is where guys who I think specialize in it start to fall in this draft class. And Zachariah Branch was my top one because I thought he was the fastest. I thought that when he gets the ball in his hands and he has some space, he's going to hurt you really bad. And that's why I put him at my 10. But there's 3 guys that come after him that kind of fit in the same bill. Just I prefer Branch to them. First would be Chris Bell out of Louisville, then Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama, and then Skylar Bell out of UConn. All 3 of those guys, when I looked through their tape, they made plays downfield. They weren't bereft of any deep playmaking, but they also did a lot of their yards, pop passes, quick passes at the line of scrimmage, go get those yards with that speed. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that the Steelers, if you're getting wide receivers, it's especially earlier in the draft, you want guys that are going to get open downfield, win on the deep ball, win on the intermediate, win over the middle, win over the middle by not just getting open, but holding on to the ball there. And that's where I think that I struggle with that. Chris Bell, I think, is a really, really good athlete for Louisville. But I think that, but when I looked at it, a lot of his catches weren't like outside of his frame; they were put towards his chest. And I didn't see him making some of the ridiculous catches that other people have in this draft class. So that's why I put some of these guys a little bit further down. Chris Bell didn't make the top 10. He was 11. Bernard from Alabama was 12, and then Skylar Bell out of UConn was 13. And these guys could move right back into this next week with strong combines for me. But these are just where I see things right now. I think for the Steelers, you got to get one of these top 10 guys, like his top 9 guys that can get open downfield, use their route running ability, but also be dangerous receivers with the ball and going up to win it, going up to get it, and making things happen. There's serious potential for you to get that and then another specialized type of wide receiver later in the draft and double up on a position that desperately needs new young blood that's talented and bringing new things to the room. So there you have it, my top 10 wide receiver. One more review before we head to our next segment. We got number 1 was Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. Number 2 was Makai Lemon out of USC. Number 3 was Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. Number 4 was Denzel Boston out of Washington. Number 5, Chris Brazzell out of Tennessee. Number 6, Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame. Number 7, Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. Number 8, Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. Number 9, Elijah Surratt out of Indiana. And then number 10, Zachariah Branch out of Georgia. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're still talking draft because it's Mock Draft Monday, which means we got to get you the Mock Draft Monday winner of the week. What were the rules and who followed them? Find out next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, remind you, this show is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life this year. TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's get to the final segment of the day. And of course, it's Mock Draft Monday. So as always, we put it out to you guys to submit your mock drafts to my social media accounts. Also, I just want to put this as a reminder because every year I need to remind people. When I say there's a Mock Draft Monday post, please post under the Mock Draft Monday post on Twitter, Facebook, the Locked On Steelers Facebook group, or on Blue Sky. If you post and just tag me and say, hey, Chris, I want this submitted, I'm not going to see it when it's time to look them up. I'm going to go to the post that I made that I said, hey, post it here, and I'm going to see it. But if you post it somewhere else, or if you tag me in it somewhere else, or you say, you at me and say, Chris, look at this one, I'm not going to remember it when it's time to choose. So I apologize for those who do that. But we still had many of you guys submitted. Some of you guys on Twitter, some of you guys on Facebook, some of you guys on Blue Sky. Appreciate everyone who does participate in every week. This week's rule was a different experiment. I wanted to see if you guys could put together a draft where the Steelers traded up and got 2 first-round picks in this draft and selected a DT. I think I said in the top 80 picks. So I was really trying to force you to see, could you get that interior defensive line presence, and could you make a trade up that got you a second first-round pick instead of trading way up in the first round, saying, hey, let's get 2 guys in the top 30 and see how that works out. And congratulations to this week winner. It was at Hubito and 97. They put together a really strong draft, traded up to get the 28th pick from the Houston Texans. They traded away the 2nd and 3rd round picks at 53rd and 76th overall to get that pick. Also traded up to get the 85th overall pick. Traded up to get the 78th overall pick in the 3rd round, giving away the 85th overall pick, and then a 6th round and a 7th round pick. So some wheeling and dealing here done by Hubito, and I like it. And I like what he went for here. He got 2 of those receivers I put in that top 10. So let's start with it here. He stuck at 21 to use the Steelers' natural first round pick, and that's where he gets Casey Concepcion. Now, you're going to see a lot of Casey Concepcion's picks going in the early to mid to late 20s. I think he's that kind of a guy. He's a playmaker. Has some issues with his hands at times, but he's still a number one potential guy, still a guy that can be your number one wide receiver in the long term. So I think there's a lot of sense that makes there at staying at 21. But then it gets really interesting because he trades up. Hubudu trades up to 28, and that's where he goes and gets a defensive line presence in Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. Now, Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech, if you don't remember, I talked about him at the Senior Bowl. He was the best defensive lineman at the Senior Bowl. He was a bad guy, and I really liked the way that he played. He was physical. He was aggressive. He could bully people both in the run and the pass. If the Steelers get this guy, this defensive line, especially if Cam Hayward sticks around this year and plays at a high level, this defensive line could be a very dangerous and well put together unit. Lee Hunter with Derek Harmon and Y.A. Black for the foreseeable future, and Keanu Benton, man. Some big problems could be coming people's way. But then I also really liked what Hubudu did with the rest of his draft. He used the 78th overall pick that he traded up for from the Colts to get Chris Brazzell, the second wide receiver to Tennessee, big-time playmaker. So now you have a shifty route runner and then a deep ball threat who can also get open as well. That's two big playmakers you add to your wide receiver room. And then you bring in the next guy that could be a big game changer on defensive tackle with Lee Hunter. Right there, your three picks there are pretty solid. But he also followed up with some good depth picks as well. At the 99th overall pick in the third round, the Steelers comp pick, they get Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech linebacker, who was pretty solid and was expected to be the best linebacker in the Senior Bowl. That turned out to be Kyle Lewis out of Pitt. We'll talk about him at some point because I really think that he could be really special. But Jacob Rodriguez makes sense as a late third round pick. Davison Igbenison, cornerback out of Ohio State. I like him. I've actually seen some of the tape that I've been studying to know more about these wide receivers. So good on him. He gets in the fourth round at 121st pick there. Then just 14 picks later, fourth round, the Steelers go Bo Stevens, the guard out of Iowa. It just makes sense. They need a guard. This is a guy who can develop young. So that made sense. Then in the fifth round, a tackle, Cage Casey out of Boise State. I get it. Tackle depth is always helpful. And then in the sixth round, they get safety Jalen Husky out of Maryland. And then in the seventh round, they get edge rusher Keyshawn James Newby out of New Mexico. So there you have it. But again, I want to focus on these earlier picks here. Casey Concepcion, Lee Hunter, Chris Brazzell. That's the stuff that I think could bring game-changing talent to the team sooner rather than later, because Concepcion's a route runner, Brazzell's a burner, and can run routes. But Lee Hunter's a difference maker at the line of scrimmage. Man, you get that, and then if you hit on those, and then you hit on some of these good names of guys below, I really think there's a good chance the Steelers are able to capitalize off of that. But again, this is why we do Mock Draft Monday. We do it for experiments, and then I'm glad for all the people who followed the rules and did the 2 first-round picks and see what it was. It's just an exercise to see who all could they get if they did something like that. What would you think if this was the Steelers' haul? Do you agree with Hubudu that this is a great haul? I think it's a pretty good one. I like these prospects here, but hey, we have plenty of time to talk about those prospects coming up as the offseason continues. I'm your host, Chris Carter. This is the Locked On Steelers podcast. You can find me, Chris Carter, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day, because we're your team every day. And just a reminder, you can follow me, Chris Carter, at Carter Critiques on all your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And thanks again for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. And also another reminder, just want to put this out there, you guys can call into the show at 412-223-6644. If you have a question that you want answered on air, you call this number, leave your name, where you're from, keep your question under a minute, and then you can get your question on the show for me to answer. That's 412-223-6644 for that. Thanks again for everyone for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully with Alan Saunders, right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.